In this video, I'm going to explain the differences between arrow functions and regular functions in JavaScript. So let's get started. One of the main differences between arrow functions and regular functions in JavaScript is the syntax. Arrow functions have a concise syntax using the arrow notation that you can see in the above line, const square equal to num in bracket, and then we have arrow notation. So that is your arrow function. While regular function in this example, we have used the keyword function, then the name of the function, and in bracket, we are passing the argument. So that is one of the differences between arrow and regular function. That is the syntax. Let us discuss the second difference, that is binding of this keyword. So arrow functions do not bind their own this value. Instead, they inherit this value from surrounding scope. So if you see in this example, we have a greet function defined that's using the arrow function. And if we are trying to access the name property using this, it returns undefined because greet function, that is an arrow function, cannot use the scope inside the object. So it can only access scope outside the person object. But in contrast, regular functions have their own this value, which is determined by how they are called or invoked. Like in this example, we have a person object. Inside that, the greet function is defined using a regular function. And if we are trying to access this dot name, we are able to fetch the value John here. So the output would be hello John. So this is very important concept, and you should understand when to use arrow function and when to use a regular function when you are trying to access the scope. The third difference between arrow function and regular function is the arguments object. So arrow functions do not have their own arguments object. The arguments object refer to the arguments passed to a function. But regular functions, on the other hand, have access to the arguments object, which allows them to access the arguments dynamically. So if you see in the example here, for arrow functions, we are using spread operator to pass the arguments. So we do not have access to the arguments object. But if you see in the bottom example, in regular function, we can directly use arguments in the console.log without passing the arguments. Next difference is constructors. Arrow functions cannot be used as constructors to create new objects, but regular functions, when invoked with the new keyword, creates a new object and set this to the newly created object. So if you see in this example, using arrow function, when we are trying to create a object using const John equal to new person John, it will give us an error. But using a regular function, when we are trying to create an object using const John equal to new person, we are able to create a new person object. So this is again a very important difference between arrow function and regular function. The next difference is the scope. Arrow functions have a lexical scope, meaning that they inherit the scope from surrounding code block. But regular functions have their own scope, which can be influenced by factors such as function declarations and hoisting. So in this example, if you see, the first example is for arrow function. And in arrow function, we are trying to access this dot name, but this is actually referencing the global object. So this dot name is taking John. But if you see the next example, which is a regular function example, this dot name is actually accessing the local scope of the person object, and it is printing Jane. Okay, so I hope this is clear, and this is again related to this keyword that we discussed. So scope is also a very important concept when we want to differentiate between arrow function and a regular function. The last difference is the use of return. So arrow functions have an implicit return when they have a single expression. So whenever we have a single expression, we do not need to use return keyword in case of arrow function. But in case of a regular function, we have to use return whether we have a single expression or multiple expression. So we can say regular functions require an explicit return statement to return a value. Overall, arrow functions provide a more concise syntax and lexical scoping, while regular functions offer more flexibility in terms of this binding, access to the arguments object, and the ability to be used as constructor. The choice between arrow functions and regular functions depends on the specific requirements and context of your JavaScript code. So if you like this video, subscribe my channel and share with your friends. So let's meet in the next video. Till then, thank you and bye-bye.